Hello, hello. I've arrived. All right, we're only 15 minutes late tonight. Only 15 minutes late. We're doing good. All right. So let's see. What is there to say today? Not a whole lot because we're pretty close to the end of the week here. But there is nothing to say. So, yeah. Anyway, tonight we're going to be playing Canvas Colors in the Moving City. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second here. Huh. I'm going to adjust my microphone a little bit. Alright, where was I? Oh, right. So, today, Canvas Colors in the Moving City. So yeah, depending on how I feel at the end of the stream, I may or may not, or at the end of the game. Because again, it's projected to be about an hour long, based on the description. I don't know if that assumes that you'll be, reading it aloud and commenting on it, as I like to do. But, yeah, it's expected to be about an hour long. Depending on how much time we have left and how I'm feeling, I may or may not do something else to fill the rest of the time. But, I don't know, I've been feeling a little bit under the weather today. So I might turn in early as soon as we're done with this game. I'm doing all right now. Yeah, I certainly don't feel poorly enough that I don't want to be streaming. I feel perfectly well enough to stream. But, yeah, I don't know. I think I might, tonight might be a short stream, though. So let's see. What else is there to say? Well, tomorrow we'll be playing some more Ni no Kuni. Let's see, yeah. Ni no Kuni tomorrow. Then we'll be on to a new week with more Ni no Kuni on Mondays and Wednesdays and Tuesdays. Or, did I say Tuesday? Friday. I did say Tuesday. I definitely said Tuesday. Instead, we're not playing Ni no Kuni on Tuesday. What we're doing instead on Tuesday is we are playing Borderlands 2 with Sheppy Sheps and Judo Kami and Altariana. Let's see. And then next Thursday will again be, whatever it happens to be. There's no knowing ahead of time. There's no knowing ahead of time. I guess I, could make preparations for this ahead of time, but, why would I do that? Anyway, yeah, the reason why we're a bit late is because I was, setting up the, some settings for the thing here. Basically, I have configured my window capture to, be able to handle, in theory, any size or type of window. Previously, also, turn on the desktop audio so you can hear the game. And I suppose I didn't, say anything about the game, like I said I was going to. So let me say some things about the game. I don't really know anything about this game, basically. Essentially, just sort of, I was looking through sort of my collection of games. I have very many games. Hold on a sec. But yeah, if I just pull up Steam here, I have at least 416 games on Steam, or I don't know why I said at least 416. It says exactly how many I have. I'm looking directly at the number. I have 416 games on Steam. I have so many more games on other platforms and other distribution websites and such. I have so many games. And I was looking through some of the games that I had, and this particular game just sort of stuck out to me, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna see what this game is about, and it's about this gal here, the taller gal. I believe her. I don't know. I guess we'll. I was going to start guessing what her name is, but I don't know actually. I was about to say a name, but I don't know that it's the correct name, so I'll refrain from saying it for now. But yeah, she's a postman apparently, and that's pretty much the extent of my knowledge of the game. It stuck out to me because I like the art style, but yeah, I was just sort of looking, and I thought, you know what? I haven't played this game. I don't know whether or not I'm going to get around to playing it on my own time. So, we might as well take this opportunity to, to play it now. Basically. Because yeah, I don't play a whole lot of, most of the overwhelming majority of the time I spend playing games in my week to week, in any given week, I should say, is on stream. That's sort of the largest uninterrupted stretch of time in which I can play games. So, this is sort of these Thursdays when I don't have any specific plans generally are the I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. But they are an opportunity for me to play games that I might not play otherwise. And so yeah, so basically, as I was saying also, I have set up this window in OBS such that, you can set like a bounding box basically. So I can make it so, the game, no matter how big the actual game window is, no matter what the resolution is, it has to fit within, the given box, basically. And if it's too small, it will be scaled up, and if it's too big, it will be scaled down. Because yeah, I know that this is an issue that I had a lot with Toho streams initially. Like I would have to like resize the window a lot, and I'd have to do that again for whenever I get a new game that wasn't like the exact same resolution as the previous game that we played and all that. So hopefully this will obviate that problem somewhat, or perhaps ameliorate it at the very least. And so yeah, I'm probably going to want to mess around with it a bit more. Because yeah, I could probably come down just a little bit here. And yeah, now there's a part of my mind that's going, oh, you shouldn't do that because like it's not, the bounding box isn't perfectly 16 by 9 now, but like the whole point of having a bounding box is that I don't have to be too precise in my scaling. But yeah, one thing, and I suppose I might as well, talk about it. I don't know, I've always tried to keep some amount of mystery. I don't know why. I feel like that like contributes to this, but yeah, I don't know. I just sort of am inexplicably mildly averse to talking about my plans for the stream and whatnot, and I really shouldn't be. I should be sharing them so that I can get like feedback on them and whatnot. But yeah, I'm planning on polishing up the assets a little bit here in the not too distant future. Like, yeah, I've got to say the sort of sketchy art style that I have has grown on me a little bit. But still, I do want to make it a little bit neater, with yeah, and just sort of generally update the look of things. So yeah, that was a weird face. I can't make the... I can't make that face again. Oh dear. Oh well. Anyway. Let's play this visual novel. Oh. There we go. Chanus had many names. It was the Marching State, It was the town of transients. Most simply called it the moving city, and it was here a woman named Maggie made her work. I was correct, that is her name. Nice. Maggie was a postman, and thus had many different responsibilities. Presently, it was to deliver a dwindling bundle of letters in a bag which she carried. A trivial task, were this not to be done in the moving city. After all, it would be a poor nickname if the buildings did not all walk and wheel and limp and scatter about all on their own. As such, there was no fixed city plan. There was no main walkway or artery. There were no streets, or permanent ones anyway. Also, I realized I have the... It's capturing my cursor, which I don't want. Do not capture cursor. Thank you. Also, I got this on the wrong layer, I think. Just slightly, though. There we go. So, one had to turn their eyes up, which is what Maggie did, and this is how one navigates the city. Above the homes and the shops flutter each a set of flags to indicate what is there and who lives there. But anyway, Maggie stood in silence. The stones beneath her foot remained in place, in spite of all the rumbling beneath her and beside her and all about her visible radius. The building shifted and lumbered forward and to the left and to the right. Some lagged behind and changed position so as not to crash into one another. From where she stood, she had a decent enough view of the place. There she remained, not wholly out of fatigue, but because she was looking for the flags to which she must deliver her remaining few letters. She squinted at the heights for a glimpse of her targets, keeping the contents of her satchel firmly in her mind. 2. Home with red flag with lion upon it, moving city. 2. Shop, green checkered flag, big sign over door, Chanus or moving city. House, blue red flag, black door, moving. 2. Home, mauve flag over a green flag, moving city. She blew a bit of air out of her nose. While one of her job functions was to deliver these letters, certainly, she wasn't expected to know the name of every color of the rainbow. So Maggie happened on a passerby and asked, "Pardon me, sir." The man froze. It was not the sight of the postman that stopped him, but her race. Plainly, Maggie was not human. Her pointed ears, tall stature, and feathered head painted Maggie as one of the vain, so she smiled at the man and maintained her distance. Having a small difficulty with some deliveries. Would you mind telling me what color mauve is? Mauve? The man took a half-step backward, as if he were making to run off somewhere. But then he saw the vein give no reaction. When he saw the vein give no reaction, he appeared to give that up. Either she would catch up to him, or she posed no threat. It's kinda pink-purple, or light purple, maybe. You're looking for... He stopped himself. He was old, so it was entirely possible he was a war veteran, and the scars of those who lived his history would always be fresher than those who did not. So the sight of a English postman before him was equally ridiculous as it was terrifying. Yet, he continued. Never liked her anyway. Thinks real highly of herself. Does she now? She's got a green flag too, so look for that. It's a plain green. Then you'll see that mauve flag, or whatever she calls that nonsense. I have places to be, so I'm leaving. She thanked him for his time and looked again at the roofs of the buildings. Soon enough, her target appeared to her beneath a four-legged tower and a squat, wheeled home with many windows. Between, I think. Yeah. The occupants were already lowering bridges between the buildings. This was the other tricky part of being a postman in the moving city. A bridge could be many things. Therefore, when Maggie saw her path thus crossed to loosely forged metal mosaics, she steeled herself, got on with the business of advanced level walking. I like the notion of there being different levels of walking. How many experience points in walking do you have to? How many experience points do you have to put into walking before you can unlock power walking? Is running a subset of walking, or is running its own skill set? I'm gonna take a sip real quick. Each step produced a different creak, an almost musical effect that may have delighted her were the earth not rushing by 12 feet below. She fought the impulse to look down, though in crossing only halfway, she saw that the thing keeping the bridge moored to the other side were a couple of sacks of flour. No, she thought, this is not a bridge. This is an ordeal. When the square behind her shook and in turn rattled the bridge, she voted immediately to sprint the remaining 10 feet. Her boots rattled the bridge with every pounding step, shaking the flour bags bit by bit, bit by bit, bit by bit. She arrived. Maggie took only a moment to steady her nerve and allow a moment for her knees to cease their quivering. As she calmed herself, she thought to exact a fine on the owner of this plot of land, the builder of this bridge, for endangering the lives of any who thought to cross. She even thought to kick the bridge over the side for the betterment of everyone. Of both thoughts she entertained neither, and instead reset the sacks of flour to stabilize the path some, and she continued on, quickly. The woman found her target soon enough, and with little further trouble. There was the green flag, there was the pink-purple flag above it, and that was all the verification required after risking her life. Typically, she would ask the recipient for some sort of identification, as it was her job as a postman to confirm people are who they say they are. It was her job as well to check up on them, and investigate ill-goings-on, and apprehend criminals and their dealings at her discretion. But this time she merely wanted to be done with her delivery so she could pound back a tall mug of ale and relax. And so she dropped the delivery off in a little letterbox by the door. Pardon a sec. Yes, in a little letterbox by the door, and that was the end of it. Now remained 3 letters. She found the shop with the green checkered flag first, which turned out to be a pub, and she made a mental note to visit them later, bidding them luck that the letter was not a bill. She found the house with the blue flag, with the blue-red flag, and the black door next, and the recipient was a rather crotchety old woman who threatened violence upon the man who wrote the letter. She requested Maggie stick around a moment while she wrote her reply that she did not, in fact, owe the man any money, and that it was a bet made over 30 years ago, so it was past time to let that go. The old woman made sure to spit into the envelope before handing it to Maggie. Her letter rivaled the previous as an exercise of atrocity of penmanship, made worse by the haste with which she had written the thing, and the gob of spittle that had begun to leak through. Maggie reminded her to attach the proper postage, and she headed off with directions, all the while keeping watch for the final home. The postman dropped off the damp envelope without ceremony, or without so much as a knock on the door. Best not get caught up in this mess, she thought. But then there was the final letter. It had been hours, and its owner was nowhere in sight. She checked the address again. Red flag with lion upon it. Nothing of the sort appeared to her. Maggie found a high plaza surrounded by a dense cluster of buildings, most of which moved by mechanical leg. She watched for a moment. It was a small wonder none of them stepped on one another or tripped over another's legs. Rather, it was more like an intricate dance than a group of homes and businesses marching aimlessly through the desert. From her vantage point, she had a better view of the city. Certainly, there were red flags, but most appeared plain, and of the remainder, none appeared to be the one she sought. Was it possible the house had fallen behind her? They all seemed tethered to one another, moving together as a school of herrings. Perhaps, she giggled to herself, a larger house had eaten it. "Excuse me, miss." Maggie caught the attention of a woman passing by. "I'm looking for a home with a red flag that has a lion on it." "I'm afraid I don't know that one, sorry." She marched on her way, so Maggie found another person. "Sir, could you help me find someone?" Oh, look at this guy. What a guy. "I'm in a hurry, postman. Will this take long?" "I'm looking for a house with a red flag that should have a lion on it." "Can't help you. Good day." Man, that looks like if, Vegeta and Polnareff fused. And this continued for the greater part of an hour. It seemed no one knew or cared to let slip where the house might be. Maggie even considered covering her feathers and hiding her ears, as if that were the source of the problem. Though it was more likely the people around her simply did not know. This was a city, after all. Who could keep track? Who memorized the numbers of buildings on a lane? So she switched tactics and put on her thief-taker's demeanor. She put her hand to her sword and stopped the first person she saw. Sir, I need to speak with you for a moment regarding a case. A postman's job was not just to deliver parcels and correspondence. Parcels and correspondence. Again, they were guards and hunters of criminals, and could even be called on as a militia. As such, each postman carried a sword at their waist. She drew her weapon on the man for a bit of intimidation, better to play the part of the mildly unhinged lawbringer. The man's eyes widened as he stopped everything he was doing. A home has gone missing lately, and I suspect something odd afoot. Do you know anything of the sort? A home missing? No, not that I can recall. I mean, there was that one house a couple days ago that broke down. A house broke down? Yeah, it was just a small one, you know, and so other people, they tried to help her out. Must have been a bad furnace or something, so the people offered to help, and she just didn't say anything. Looked like she lost a big bet. Eventually, she told everyone to back off, and that was the end of it. That's all I know. Did this house have a red flag? What? I don't know. Maybe? I don't remember that well. She slackened her stance and nodded to let him leave. If this was indeed the place she was looking for, she would need to hire a carriage to backtrack the city's path. While the city plodded along, it was not so slow that her task would take hours longer. This was proving far more difficult than it needed to be. Maggie resolved to transfer out of the city once this last delivery was done. But she would again be taking Vale further from her home. She was distracted for a moment, thinking of the young girl that traveled with her. Vale had followed Maggie around for at least a month now, and she was beginning to wonder if the girl was at all homesick, or even thought to write to her family. But that was a question for when she was around. And so Maggie found another poor pedestrian to interrogate, and set about looking for her charge. She found Vale in a crowded plaza, entrancing a small group with magic and parlor tricks. She would, briefly, conjure up a glowing pale light about her fingers, and then, once the interest of the crowd was locked, place her hands together and proceeded to separate her thumb from her hand. Oh, incredible. One of the group gasped while the remainder clapped, dropping small coins into a wicker basket nearby. Once they were gone, Vale huffed, but upon seeing Maggie approach, she brightened right up. How'd it go? They looked impressed. Would have even impressed my family. I did the glowy thing with my hand and pretended to remove my thumb, and before that I pretended to float. Did you see how impressed with my magic they were? And they dropped a whole bunch of coins into the basket. I think it's like that thing where you throw flowers at a play. It's a version of that, yeah. I guess you could say I'm getting better with this magic stuff, don't you think? I think so. Maybe a traveling magician will take you on as an apprentice. Vale puffed up a bit in pride, turning her head to hide the blush. You shall have to wait. I'm on a mission. Anyway, all done? Not quite. We have to hire a carriage for our last one. Apparently houses break down, and so for some reason the lady who lives in the house wished not for help, rather. So we now have a several hours ride ahead of us. Vale flicked a few coins out of her basket like they were ants on a pastry, and then she took the basket and followed Maggie. Absolutely no desire for these coins. I like it. She's just here she is a true artist. I don't want your coins. I don't want anything. I just want to do my magic. I can respect that. The pair crossed several bridges to a ferry service, which Maggie had located earlier. They found the shop owner, and at once Maggie flashed her postman's badge. He bade them follow downwards to a low balcony, where they saw a trio of carriages, each hooked up to a craggy stone golem. The golem stood idle like large statues, staring to the receding horizon with no apparent sentience. I've got to say, this golem reminds me a lot of like the like golem-esque enemy from like Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. What's that thing called? Hold on. Hold on. There we go. This guy. Whoops. Where'd he go? Well, seems the golem's kind of shy. Hold on. Nope. Alright. Okay, it's gone, I guess. Hold on. Is this... It'll show up for, like, a moment. But, like... Yeah, then it'll just, like, go away. That's odd. Anyway. Back to business. The shop owner scribbled something on a piece of paper, unhinged the skull cap of one of the golems, flipped the note inside, and closed it up. Soon the golem shivered to life, and Maggie and Vale boarded the cab, and they set off. As they sat, Vale took out a small field guide and flipped quickly to a specific page, showing it to Maggie. Did you remember to ask anyone if they've seen this flower? She turned her book of horticulture to face the postman, pointing to a long-stemmed flower with little bell-shaped blooms which hung on as if they were wilting. There was next to it a cutaway diagram of the flower and a picture of its leaves, about which were scrawled notes in some human dialect Maggie could not read. No one's heard of it, that I could tell. Mum says it's to be found to the east, but she's only got a faint reckoning of exactly where. Mayhaps we're not far enough? Could be, and that reminds me. Vale, have you written your family yet? Vale was silent and turned to her book. You know it's no good going so far and so long without even a word you're alright. They'll be worried about you. Vale buried her face in the book now, and Maggie elected to drop the matter. It had been several weeks since she had contacted her own family. Perhaps it was hypocrisy of her to press Vale on it. And I've been on lots of journeys. Mum knows I'm okay, and Da isn't worried at all. I've been away from home lots of times. The girl set her book down, though she continued to stare at its pages. I just don't think I'm yet good enough at writing letters. Does that make sense? A little. Maggie smiled and turned to look at the landscape, rolling slowly by. Already the clatter and thump of the city had begun to fade. I'm going to take a quick sip. Knock something over. Oh dear. Can I hold your sword? Maggie started awake. Was I asleep? I think so. So? I'm sorry? Can I hold your sword? Do all postmen carry these? All postmen carry these, yes, but we cannot permit anyone other than a postman to carry them. It is an insult to the uniform, for one. I could get in trouble for another, and you could hurt yourself. I'll be careful. Sorry, Vale. No. I'll bet you use it all the time. I have several times, yes, mostly to encourage people to make wise decisions. Fair enough. That's one way to phrase it, I guess. Stars seemingly appeared in the young girl's eyes. Have you ever fought? She toned her voice down low, as if the next word might conjure up something evil. Monsters? Once. Vale dropped her book to the floor. Whoa. It was a difficult day. I struggled well to forget, and I think best not repeated outside some very thick walls. And after many drinks, she muttered to herself, I wouldn't be afraid of monsters if I was you. I would scare them away before they got in sword distance. Maggie looked out the window, hoping Vale would find something else to ask about. And Vale then startled herself with a realization. I just remembered I got these earlier. I produced some little hand pies and handed two to Maggie. One's sweet, one's not. I'm eating the sweet one first. It's got the seeds on top. Maggie started the opposite way and found it was filled with a jam of bacon and onion, with a bit of a potato here and there. Jam. Isn't jam, like, made from fruit, in theory? It doesn't seem like the kind of thing that you can make with, like, bacon, at the very least. Maybe onion. I don't know, maybe I don't know what jam is. Well, that's a question for another day. Her stomach was quite out of room before she was half finished with the pie. Do all the Venlish become postmans? I have not seen many, though there may be a complicated reason behind it. Vale left it at that, and tucked into her second pie. How old do you all really get? I'm not certain. No one really told me. Do you know how old humans get? Nope, but I hear the Vane get older. Perhaps I'll find out. How much further are we to this last house? Can't say. I just know to follow the trail back until we hit it. It broke down 2 days ago, so I've gathered. And judging by how fast the city moves, we'll approach it in a couple of hours. Do the houses break down a lot? Some do. Usually this community seems to come together and to help to get them up and running. But this person didn't want help for some reason. Maybe they thought they could fix it themselves. Maybe they thought they could fix it themselves. I broke my dad's favorite shovel once. He said he could fix it, but I told him I would do it, since I broke it and it's my responsibility to make it right. That's what he taught me. Man, Vale's a good dutiful dude. I guess, I don't know. Vale beamed in pride, remembering the heated lesson. Did you fix it? I broke it more, so I got him a new one, but it's fine, since he likes the new one better. Maybe we should help this person fix their house. So we break it and get her a new one? Well, no, I think because the houses are run by magic that I can fix them by magic, right? If I try to fix a non-magic thing by magic, then it explodes. I don't think a magical house will explode. Let's hope not. They had thus passed in silence. Vale had fallen asleep some minutes ago, and Maggie was finishing her second pie, which she guessed was filled with dates and was as rich as the first had been. She decided it was a poor idea to let Vale choose lunch. Even still, in spite of her overfull stomach and sore backside from hours of sitting, Maggie was content. The red rocks and wiry vegetation that crept by were calming, and so was the knowledge that she would soon be finished with her job. And so, Maggie hummed a tune to herself, and before long, Vale stretched and groaned. What's that? What's that song? It's a marching tune. Did you learn that in the army? Maggie let out a small laugh. You overguessed at how old I am, Vale. And besides, one of my commanding officers taught it to me. Do you know the words? I do, but I'm afraid it would make for poor listening. Vale grumped at the Venlish woman and said, You're far too serious, Maggie. Maggie felt a little hurt, so she turned back to the window and sighed. And she slowly sang this. From Barker's cry heard in the square to any able lad who dare, for noble cause and hearty pay, over the hills and far away, o'er the hills and round the fanes, from comely shore to farther bay, our king commands and we obey, over the hills and far away. From home to fire through smoke and spell, companions all around me fell, for kin and king and country way, over the hills and far away. And as she sang the chorus once more, Vale pulled out a little notebook and scribbled the words as quick as she could. For 90 days and maybe more, we met the foe at every ford. No bitter end we see today, over the hills and far away. Vale was writing in a mad fury and seemed to catch by the time Maggie had finished the chorus again. Of many battles we have seen, to find our sovereign's head a cleave. Our lords are fled, our king is slain, over the hills and far away, o'er the hills and gone away, through sodden field and salted plain. Now Queen commands and we obey, over the hills and far away. Man, I'm not quite on the beat. Here, Maggie's voice cracked and she held back the next lines. Indeed, she turned to the window in embarrassment, ceasing to sing or even speak further. You were right, Maggie. That was a bit sad. Was that how the war with the Vane went? Is that why all the older folk are so cross with you? Roughly. And people are fools. You weren't there, were you? And it's not like it was your fault all the battles and stuff didn't go the way they should have. Maggie kept quiet, searching for words. Perhaps it doesn't matter. Anyway, we've arrived. The carriage halted, and Maggie groaned out of her seat, stretching her back while she set boot upon the dusty earth. Evening waned on the lone house, partly listed into the red dirt. About it was planted many small succulents and desert plants in the early stages of cultivation. And up top, a red flag fluttered in the cooling air. There was a lion on it. We're just gonna turn back around, aren't we? Yes, but I think I'll check up on this person. We at least deserve to know the face of one for whom we've traveled so far to see. Wouldn't you agree? Vale nodded and followed along, only to become distracted by a flowering cactus. She took out her notebooks and started to sketch the flower as Maggie knocked at the door. There was a soft voice from inside, which answered, and when the woman inside finally opened the door to face her, Maggie's heart iced over. Maggie! Vale looked up from her distraction to see a human woman embracing Maggie. The Vane woman was too shocked to respond at first, but when she had back her senses, she returned the hug. Vale approached the pair, and they separated. The human woman looked up at Maggie, committing her face to memory. Maggie? Oh, Vale, this is my sister, Amarella. Amarella nodded at the young girl. And this is Vale. She travels with me. You're not a Vane. The woman paid no heed to Vale's comment. I was only to have a light dinner tonight, but I'm open for a change. I have a little veg, and so I have a little keg of some English ale. I've long sought an excuse to tap. Come, you two. Maggie hesitated, holding one of her arms and shifting her weight between each leg. That won't do, Maggie. I insist. Fine, but first, Maggie whipped out her final letters of the day, all addressed to Amarella, who took them with a curtsy. Will the postman be asking how my day has gone? Amarella? Fine. These will be my delivery charges. These will be my delivery changes, I expect. It's nothing interesting to open, I'm sure. He seized Maggie's wrist and dragged her inside. Vale followed as if she were a shadow. They entered the home. The floor was leveled, in spite of the slight angle of the house from the outside. There was a large hearth at the far end of the main room, where the makings of an evening's fire lay just unlit. There was a small table by the hearth, and only a single intricate chair sat there. The table itself was covered in plant clippings and several half-full earthen pots, which Amarella quickly swept away, leaving the tabletop bare. She left Maggie and Vale there and hustled into the kitchen, calling out to them, Do make yourselves comfortable. I'll be but a minute. And indeed, she was out quite soon, with a couple of boards of some sausages and a wheel of cheese. She then set them upon the table, while Vale found herself a tall box to sit upon, scooting it up to the table. Maggie, light the fire, please. Maggie? Alright, we got a big choice here. No, we do what we're told. We do what we're told around here. Maggie grabbed a flint and steel from the top of the hearth and knelt down to begin her assigned task. She, of course, had the fire going in little time. Amarella nodded in appreciation. So Amarella sliced the sausages, humming to herself a tuneless song. I presume to be your last stop of the day, I take it? You are. What a wonderful coincidence this is. I had no idea you had left home. Mother and father did not reveal this to me. It is a recent change, and one which has proven most satisfactory. I must say, I've forgotten the beer. One moment. Amarella wiped her hands on her dress and pattered off into another room. See, she seems happy. In spite of her situation, yes. I think she missed you. Yes, well, I did too. think I'll write to my family tonight." It was then that Amarella arrived with a small keg, humming while she set it sideways upon an upturned crate. She hurried back into the kitchen and soon returned with a spigot and woolen mallet. That's a very funny mental image. I'm gonna take a sip real quick. She set the spigot against a disc of cork, which stuck out from the face of the keg, and taking the mallet, she struck the spigot to drive it into the keg. This took a very long time, because the mallet was made of wool. Fabric is not very good for hammering. It took several whacks, and a little beer spilt onto the floor, but that was an unavoidable casualty. Might Father disapprove your experience with such a task? It was he who taught me, Maggie. But that was after you went off to your postman's training. Oh, but I jest. Some men in Shawnus taught me the craft. I tended a bar for some weeks, until my little exile. From some place, Amarella produced a trio of mugs. 2 she filled near to the brim, but for the 3rd she addressed Vale. And for the young lady? Fine Venlish ale. Amarella paused a moment and looked to Maggie. Just a bit to taste. Indeed. So Amarella dipped a bit of the keg into the final mug and handed it off to Vale. She took the mug with both hands in reverence and awe of the ruby-red liquid within. Thou was always on about the legendary Venlish ale. Is this what the war was about? And she took a sip, and she took a gulp, and she screwed up her face and set down the mug in disappointment, which had Maggie and Amarella laughing. They clapped together their mugs and took a long drink each, and each set down their mug with a satisfied sigh. I needed that. Venlish beer is disgusting. It is a taste developed with age, both the beer and the one who drinks it. Here, here. She raised her mug, and Amarella obliged, and the sisters finished their drinks, though Maggie was only just the soonest. You refilled those then. I shall get something more palatable for the young lady. Amarella wandered back to the kitchen and returned with a jug of some red juice and poured a bit for Vale, topping it off with a little bit of ale. You know, just a little bit. Good luck. In this form, Vale found the drink much more agreeable. It was a little sweet, tasted much less of the yeasty, fizzy brew she'd had earlier. And then Amarella took a seat at the table, continuing to slice the summer sausages she had brought in, though Maggie went in quickly for a bit of cheese. How's the life of a postman? Have you delivered some important correspondence as of late? I do not read the letters, Amarella, but there have been some of a less private mind, though the people with loose tongues tend to be given the least important or interesting information, if their superiors are wise. When the wisdom runs wide, as far as I have heard, then the wisdom runs wide, as far as I have heard. Anyway, mail is not all I do. Oh, this is all I've ever seen you at. Granted, it's not the... Maggie leaned into her drink, searching for words, until Vale broke in with a whisper. Did you know? She fought bandits once. The news snapped all of Amarella's attention, and her face darkened. She set her knife upon the table and put her full attention to Maggie, seeking her eyes. Maggie kept in her mug. Did she know? How does the tale go? 4 men accosted us on the road to Chanuz, and I dispatched them. Maggie, don't be so boring. Amarella searched for Maggie's eyes, but her gaze was avoided. There were 4 of them, big and ugly and mean-looking, and they wanted the contents of Maggie's satchel, right? So Maggie said, You may not have this. It is official postman business, or something like that. And of them, he was the leader, I think, because he was the biggest of them all. He said, Wrong answer, girlie. I don't care if you're bloody vain or not. There's 4 of us. So Maggie said back, Only 4? And she put her hand on her sword like this, and one of the guys, he lost his nerve, and then he took off. She didn't even have to draw it or anything. But the remaining 3 just laughed and yelled some bad stuff after him, and they were all, more profit for us. And that's when Maggie told me to run, and she drew out her sword. And so Vale hopped out of her seat and displayed her best approximation of Maggie's stance, Amarilla had her hands on her own cheeks. But I hid nearby, though. I wasn't worried. I wasn't at all worried. So they all charged, and she kicked the nearest one in the shins and hit another with the handle. The pommel. Right, pommel. And the last fellow, he dropped his club and ran away too. Whoop. Oh dear. Oh yeah, also, I was looking at the menu. The menu background is very good. It's very good. And the last fellow, he dropped his club and ran away too. So Maggie approached the leader, and he put his sword to his throat. She put his sword to his throat. Interesting. Like this. Vale grabbed a stick from a nearby furnace, a nearby surface. Ooh, furnace would be a bad place to pull a stick from. And pointed it downward at what could have been a defeated villain lying belly up at her mercy. She had her most determined glare pointed at him. And she said, "I ought to put the pair of you to death and save everyone the trouble." And they were all like, sorry, we'll never do it again. We's just looking to knock yours out and take your stuff. No harm to yous behind that, miss. No, sorry, I mean my lord. And you know what she said? She knocked them out with the pommel, and we were on our way. Excellent storytelling, Vale. Most impressive. Father was correct to place you among their lot, I see. Whoops. Nope. Maggie fell into her mug, holding her expression with a swig of beer. Vale beamed, and the room was silent after that, if not for the crackling fire. Vale shrunk back a little, and though she knew she had done nothing wrong, it felt as if she had. The sisters were silent for a time, particularly, and eventually Amarilla slid her mug across the table, knocking against Maggie's and tossing it back. Maggie took a deep breath and did the same. And let us speak of lighter things than highwaymen and endangered children. Tell me, Vale, why did you come to join my sister's wanderings? I was looking for a flower. Oh! Vale fumbled about her bagging for her little book, and flipped to a page she had folded over and thrust it atop the table for Amarilla to see. This is the one. Maggie said she'd help me find it. Have you seen it anywhere? I'm afraid I have not. My cultivations are all things of the scrubland, currently, like that red juice. It's from cactus not too far from here. I took the fruits of it. Cactuses make fruit? They make all sorts of things, though I must say stings in the hand are the most common. Vale eyed the bandage upon her wrist. Some of the big ones have water inside them, though you shouldn't drink it as it doesn't agree with the stomach. I know this from personal experience, so you can take this advice as paramount. Of course, if you're properly prepared for a trip, you shouldn't need to forage for water out here, but given no other option, you should seek a plant with red fruits on it. You know a lot about the scrub. I've been industrious with my time out here. Maggie finally perked up some and brought a question. Speaking of, how did you come by this plot of land? I had heard from the townsfolk that our house had broken down. Indeed. And that the owner refused everyone's aid. Yes, well, would you like some cheese, Vale? I'm very fond of this variety, and I think you should like it too. Maggie raised a brow. Perhaps this was something her sister preferred not to talk about, or perhaps this was a problem of her own doing? Regardless, she let the questioning fall away, while Amarilla doted on Vale. Perhaps more beer would reveal what she had secreted away, Maggie thought. She topped off the mugs. Pardon me real quick. The night had fallen on the land. The insides of the homes were filled with laughter and bold resolutions, as one often makes after several drinks. Vale sat on her crate by the table as the sisters stumbled through a cheerful drinking song, led along by Maggie, who had an easier time remembering how it went. When the song ended, and Amarilla fell laughing into her chair. I've not heard that one in quite some time, and the bars here make terrible songs. Always the same 3 ones over and over again, as if they'd no imagination. Let's hope not to teach them something new. They should simply ask the postman, I suppose. Well, Maggie doesn't have her hat on. Oh, you know things are getting really wild. Even the postman, Maggie, even the postmen are so boring. You live in such a vibrant place, as if their minds are full up on how they might get to work 5 minutes from now, and they have no creativity except for how to walk. Walk? You know, where they're going. The buildings are all moving, Maggie. Amarella tried in vain to pour some more beer, but the pair had drained it quite thoroughly. I fear our keg has run dry. Ah, my finest Venlish red, or my fairest Venlish red, my cherished and most fondest friend. Though empty mug has brought me sorrow, I shall regret you on the morrow. Amarella snorted and giggled wildly, and Vale was becoming a little irritated with the sister. It was as everything she said was funny, though nothing really was. And Maggie was occupied completely with her own drink, seeming to shut out everything else out. Vale could not even goad her to direct the conversation onto something more interesting. Beer made fools of everyone. At least the mood was light. Maggie, when you get back to that blasted town, you should find the nearest pub you can and sing them a new song, because they could all use it. Whichever should I pick? Something in Venlish. Give them a real shock. I only need to stroll into the pub for that. Yes, well... Amarella threw her hand up as if that was to get her point across. Vale asked how Vane and the human came to be sisters, or took her book and went outside for some quiet. Now let us dive into the secrets. It was then that Vale decided she was having no more of these drunken ramblings. She asked a question that had tugged at her for a while now. Why aren't you a Vane? I am. Can't you tell, girl? Amarella grabbed a pair of loose leaves and stuck them above her ears, and then tried desperately and unsuccessfully to hold in her laughter. This had Maggie chuckle a bit. To clarify, Vale, I am Vane only by birth. I was adopted into Amarella's home. I'm sorry. It was so long ago. Not to worry. Father found her while he was out hunting about our lands. She was remarkably thin. You could see the bones on her, which I thought rather unsettling at the time. I was wandering for a time. Anyway, our father found this dreadfully malnourished Vane girl one day and brought her home. Her mother was initially hesitant, you know. You find a foreign child, you want to find the mother first and foremost, especially so for one of the feathered folk. So we clothed her and bathed her and unclaimed her, so we kept her. Speaking me as a stray dog. You'll not complain to me, sister. I fed you soup in those days, so yes. Some gratitude is warranted. Now, be silent lest I reveal all the embarrassing details of your upbringing, which I shall proceed to do so anyway. Maggie flicked a crumb of cheese at her sister, which bounced off her cheek without so much as a flinch. So, given our resident Vane was to be one of the family, I took it upon myself to treat her as a proper lady of the house. Firstly, a lady does not speak, lest wisdom or counsel allow it. She took quite well to this lesson, though gives neither wisdom nor counsel when asked. Not wholly a success, but I was 8 or 9, expecting perfection of a child. Psh. So you're nobility? How do you live in this house? It seemed as if, for the briefest of seconds, Amarella winced. Well, one such as I, who stands out, even without being the girl of the Venlish sister, should get away. And one should depart their home and journey once in a while to keep the mind from getting too stuffy, wouldn't you say? I've been on lots of journeys, yes, Vale added with a tone of pride. Truly, then, I must be less well-traveled than you, young miss, as I have been from home only thrice, this being the 3rd time, though it has been the shortest. I've been out... Vale went over the memories in her head. There was that time her father had taken the family to see a group of mummers performing a mile outside the village, which itself was miles from her home. Her father had to borrow a horse to carry them to that. And there was the time her mother and father accompanied her to the woods in search of flowers she had spotted in her book. And as well, there was a mill several miles from home that she had to sneak out to get to, and her parents had yet to find out about that. It is well plain from your pause that you have me beat. It is indeed odd for a child to have traveled more so than I. I must change this. But who's going to look after your plants? Well, I meant not that I would travel anytime soon, and apart from that, they were around before me, and they'll be around when I'm gone. this is the way of things. We humans are very much transient in this world. Vale did not understand the last part so much, so she looked at Maggie. But I'll bet Maggie has us both beat. Maggie finally looked up from her mug, disrupted of her thought. You've been lots of places, right? Indeed. An obvious defeat to us both. Is that a complaint? Only that you cease to elaborate fully of your quest. What more is there to say when all the lands bleed into one another? Nothing perhaps stands out among all? Some things do. Amarella huffed. It was plain to her that the conversation had reached its end. Amarella, you say you're simply on a vacation, but I feel you're not being entirely truthful. Nonsense. One does not begin a garden in a temporary place, and furthermore, your home breaks down and you refuse to get it running again? It isn't like you to leave such a thing broken and simply adapt to it. Is something the matter? Unease crossed her sister's face. Maggie need only press her further, but did she really feel it necessary? Did this not create some sort of strain between them? This might be a little bit rude, but I feel like this is important to know. Because this is like, I don't know, she just sort of like decided to like, I don't know, like abandon the town that she has been living in to like live in the wood, in like the desert. Not the woods, but in the desert, which is, I mean, it's not untenable, but like it's not the sort of thing that you do unless there's like an issue. Generally, I don't think. Maggie pressed her sister. Yet, her chest was hot, and she pressed her questions anyway. Sister, please tell me, what is the matter? Are you sick? In trouble? Nothing of the sort. Nothing at all. It's... Amarella waved her hand as if to shoo away the question. But she slumped back into her seat, thoughtful and as quiet as she had ever been, and at length she spoke. Have you ever known to be a person known for another's fame? Is your identity tied to that of your family? Can one truly be their own person? I don't understand. I know this, because you know me as Amarella, your sister, and mother and father know me as Amarella, their daughter. Yet to everyone else I am the woman with the Venlish sister. At home, I have ceased to be me as so much as me and you follow. It is this fact that vexes me, and that so much as me and you, if you follow, and it is this fact that vexes me. You of all understand that I should source my frustration in the ignorance of others when they lie before me each day. I could go to the market, walk among our gardens, and the servants and common folk all think one and the same. When my identity relies upon the existence of another person, I fear I may lose my sense of self, but perhaps it was never particularly strong to begin with. Maggie said nothing, but the quizzical frown on her face spurred Amarella to continue. I wish for solitude, as a means of separation and definition. Are you throwing away your family? No, dear sister, nothing so extreme. I seek exile for a time. Come to me, with a thankful silence missing at home. Can I sit real quick? The country here is so very quiet and peaceful. Now, sit. Difficult land, to be sure, but I find it agreeable. I feel it allows me moments of reflection I sorely need with mother and father. Maggie, normally scarce for words, was now wholly deprived of them. Vale could barely follow the conversation, and therefore said nothing. Amarella smiled softly. It is late, and the drink has begun to wear away. The pair of you may rest here the night, and don't refuse my offer, Maggie, I insist. The way back will be long and longer still in the morning. You'd better find rest under this roof than that of a wobbly carriage. He pointed at a chest by the door and continued. There you may find blankets. I have a spare bedroll for the young miss. I trust that you have your own? I have one, yes. I will return. Amarella withdrew to another room and came back with a roll of down for Vale to sleep on. They set themselves up before the fireplace, which had begun to die down a little. Maggie tossed another log on another log for them to sleep before. Maggie did not sleep as much as run over unceasing thoughts of the revelations of the evening. And by the time she had thought them over with, the fire had fallen to embers, and the cold of the night was what kept her awake. And so she rose from her bundle to claim another blanket from the chest by the door. Crossing the room, she peered into her sister's bed. She found her facing a window, curled about a pillow as she had when they were children. Out of the darkness behind, a veil whispered, "Maggie?" Maggie winced and turned and crept back to her bundle, kneeling beside the girl. "I thought you were asleep. I heard you get up. I wanted to know if you could get me one more blanket." Yes, I can." And so, Maggie got up, once more got up, and went to the chest, grabbing 2 blankets. Yet briefly she saw movement in the bedroom and stopped. She saw Amarella stir from her bed and sit up, staring out at the moons, but she continued past. "Are you sure she's alright?" "No." "Why don't you talk to her?" It is plain that she is under some stress, and she wishes to handle it in her own way. "You don't seem so sure." "I'm not." "Then you should talk to her." Maggie thought for a moment. The ember snapped, and she spoke. "Perhaps what I say will not matter. She has done this much on her own, and she is strong. She will get through this. And I'm not sure how to proceed, besides." Vale stared at the vain woman down, seeking some expression that might reveal some ounce of what went on with her head, but nothing was apparent. "You know her best, I think." Maggie nodded and tossed one of the blankets over Vale. Soon Vale drifted off into slumber, and Maggie slept fitfully. Orange light shone directly upon Maggie's closed eyes, and pried them open. Slowly she sat up, and seeing Vale asleep beside her, she got up with as much self as she could muster. But Maggie did not seek to wake her or her sister. She found instead some papers from her bag, and took also a pen and ink bottle, and set herself up on the kitchen table for a quick bit of writing. Just before she had finished, Amarella, yawning, stumbled into the main hall, and her footsteps had Vale up before long. Maggie jotted her last thought and folded the paper, then stood up. "We have been here too long, I think." "You leaving before breakfast?" "I must insist we start soon, lest our trip back will take several more hours." They could hear Vale huff in annoyance. "Fair point. You might make it before midday, and though I doubt your stomachs will appreciate the lack of some provisions before you leave, I'll fetch you something." Vale groaned out from beneath the blankets. She blinked in the morning sun and smoothed her own hair, which had been flattened on one side, not unlike an anvil in appearance. Amarella set before them 2 bags of food, and filled their canteens with more of the pink juice they had tasted the previous night. She saw them off into their carriage and embraced each in turn. "Ah, but one thing for the pair of you. For the young lady, a flower of the cactus, of whose fruit you enjoyed. It is very much not the flower in your book, but I think it is pretty enough for pressing." He handed to Vale a flower, whose petals were a deep red in the middle, which faded into a delicate pink. Vale smiled and gave her a bow. "Thanks, it's really pretty." I thought so. And for you?" She handed Maggie a letter. "I expect you'll see this to Mother and Father. I'd like them to visit when they like, as well as you two, of course. But I think you'll bring the beer next time, as payment for your debt accrued." "Debt?" "Drinking all my red. English stuff is hard to come by, you know, especially so in this country." "Fair. Until next time, my doll." Vale saw Maggie wince, but she regained herself and wrote directions on a little note, which she placed into the golem's head. It stirred to life, and Maggie had only just enough time to hop into the cab before it was off. They waved, and Amarella waved back, and she receded into the landscape. Vale immediately set into the food bag, finding it filled with some rolls and jam, which she could neither place the flavor. Now, hopefully this jam is made from, like, things that you can make jam out of, generally speaking. I'm still not convinced that bacon onion jam is jam. I think that's something else. Not to say that is necessarily bad, but I'm confident that it's not jam. Oop, hold on, did I just skip some dialogue by accident? No, okay. They were pleasant enough, and when she had finished, she noticed Maggie had not touched her food. She simply stared out the window again. "Did Why did you wince when she called you doll? It's nothing. Is that your nickname? Maggie remained silent and let the line of questioning come to an end, though Vale had thought to tease her about it later. For now, the two were quiet again. The hours passed on, and it was past midday before they caught up to the moving city. Pardon. When the golem had them back at the stable, they trudged on through the bedlam and crowds, neither saying much for weariness of the road. Pardon me again. So they came upon the Postman's Guild, and Maggie relayed her news and requested transfer out of the town, citing her difficulties in traversing the place and the hostilities of the locals. Therefore, Maggie had her new orders, and she took Vale into another carriage, pulled by another golem, destined for another town in lands unknown to either of them. The journey continues. But yeah, that was nice. Yeah, indeed quite short, as, as expected. Because it was like, when did we start on this? Yeah, we're about an hour and a half into the stream, so yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, I know apparently this game has, let's take it back to the studio real quick, actually. Yeah, I know this game has, 2 endings, I believe. So we'll have to see what the other one is, maybe down the line. I would assume it's probably related to whether or not you decide to press I've already forgotten her name. Sorry, Amarella on her reason for leaving or not. But yeah, let's see, what is there to say? Yeah, we're a pretty reasonable amount of time into the stream. Yeah, I feel fine with ending things off here. So, then, we gotta find out what we're gonna do next. I think, yeah, it's been a good long time since I've, I don't know, it hasn't been that long, I guess. But it's been a bit since I've raided Altariana. Let's head over and see his stream. But before that, we gotta go over the business. So let's see. So business for tomorrow, Ni no Kuni, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. I think I forgot to say that, the time and or the time zone when I was talking about the schedule earlier in the stream. Which, unfortunate. But you know now. And, it doesn't change, broadly speaking, from day to day or week to week, so... And I think I have, like, a schedule set up on my Twitch page, but I'm 100% certain it's not accurate. I'm 100% certain that it is not accurate. Oh, hold on. Yeah, I have a schedule. No, yeah, it does. It says I'm playing Ni no Kuni. Yeah, it says that I'm playing Ni no Kuni when I play Ni no Kuni. So yeah. So it is not wholly inaccurate, at the very least. Yes. So let's see. Where was I? No clue. Oh, right. So next week, we're going to be doing a different thing next week. Or no, not a different thing. We're going to be doing the same thing on next week. We're going to be playing Ni no Kuni next week. We'll be playing Ni no Kuni Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Tuesday, we will be playing Borderlands with Altariana, Judokami, and Sheppy Sheps. And then on Thursday, we'll be doing something else. I don't know. We might just go in and see what the second ending of this here visual novel is. Or maybe we won't. Maybe we'll do something else. I do... sort of what I was getting at when I was talking about earlier about the large amount of games that I have is that, I want to have an opportunity to try out some of these games. Because, I have almost no way of knowing whether or not I will like them or to what degree I will like them until such time as I play them. Because that's how these things work. But yeah, I enjoyed this, and I think yeah, I want to keep trying new things on Thursday. I always sort of had Thursday as a free day, as a sort of whatever I feel like doing day. And I don't necessarily want it to become, you know, any one sort of day in particular. Like for a while, it was sort of a bullet hell day because I played Toho pretty much mostly, and then I beat Toho and I started playing Jamestown. But yeah, I don't want it to be visual novel day. I don't want it to be bullet hell day. I don't want it to be new game day. I just want it to be day. Whatever day it feels like it should be on that day is the day that it will be. And so yeah. So, next Thursday we'll see what happens. I don't know, I'll probably decide something before Thursday. I'll get something lined up. If for no other reason than for planning purposes. But probably next Thursday is also going to be sort of a new game Thursday. And I guess, for the stream, almost every game that I play is a new game. Or rather, of the, well, I don't know. On any given week, 2/3 of the games that I play are, games that I have already been playing. But yeah, I don't know. I guess new to me rather than necessarily just new to the stream. Because yeah, there are many games that I have played and that I want to play at some point. But there are also many games that I have not played and that I have no real conception of beyond maybe their genre, maybe their art style, maybe this or that. But yeah, I enjoyed Canvas Colors here. It's very short. I don't know. It left me wanting more, but I guess it's better that it's better to be left wanting more than to be left wanting less. So yeah, I don't know. I'll keep an eye out. I'll keep an eye out on the folks who made this game. See if they, I mean, there was the very clear, the journey continues. There's a very clear jumping off point for the development of the storyline and world. But yeah, the art style is especially nice. I quite like it. Yeah, I've always enjoyed sort of the painterly look, I suppose. I think that's sort of the term that is used for such things. So let's see. Anything else to go over before we wrap up for tonight? I think that should be good. Yeah, I talked about the stream times and all that. So yeah, I suppose there's nothing left to do but to get ready for their raid. So let me get ready for their raid. So yes, like I said, we'll be raiding Altariana tonight. Been a little bit since we dropped by it. Yes, the raid message is, as always, we have arrived. And yes, I hope you all have a very fine night. I hope you have all enjoyed this nice little game. Pretty good writing, very good art, pretty good music. Yeah. Yeah, I think that should well, I think my chat window's cut off slightly, is what I think. But yeah, I think I had that issue. Yeah, I really need to fix that. I've had that issue for a while. But yeah, can't fix that. Well, I mean, I guess I could fix it now once the stream's over, but I don't have time to fix it immediately before the raid goes off. So, yeah, I guess we'll, I don't know. I don't know the point that I'm trying to make here, but, yes. Anyway, let's go catch Altariana, like I said. Once again, I hope you all have a fine night.